Transform.
Well, let's go to Angel first. Angel always has a lot to offer the podcast. He says, won't be pretty in Kansas City for the Dolphins. I'm picking the Chiefs 17-3 in frigid Arrowhead.
Hey, Angel, I don't know if you own any winter wear. You tell me how you throw the football when it's 7 degrees going down to 0 and the wind chill's -8 and that wind is 8 to 16 miles an hour blowing across the field. The Sunshine Boys are not playing in Miami. They're playing in Kansas City, and this is going to be an enormous challenge. This would be a hell of a game if this thing were in the Sunshine State, but it's not. It's in the Arctic that is Kansas City this weekend.
Well, and figure the fans are going to be there at the crack of dawn. They're going to be tailgating and they're going to be boozing. So the crowd could get kind of rowdy when this game goes on.
Crowd is rowdy any time of the year, but obviously when it's cold and windy, this is going to be a very, very hard game for Miami. This is going to be a bitter end. I mean, if they get taken out, they will then be 1-6 against good teams this year. So how really good were they? Was it gimmicks and gadgets that got them to the season they had? 1-6 against good teams, not a lot of credibility in that.
Yeah, we thought they were going to be really good. And you're right. They've been also Jekyll and Hyde. I just don't see the Dolphins winning this game.
Not at all. But like we said at the beginning of our preview, we know you can trust Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Can you trust anybody else on that Chief offense?
Yeah. Well, like I said, Pacheco, maybe.
Okay. Next question.
Okay, let's go here to Kevin. And he said, nobody saw the Pittsburgh Steelers 10-7 making the playoffs. The AFC North is the toughest division in the NFL, but the Steelers, 10-7, were 5 wins and 1 loss. The Browns 1-1, in division. Bengals 0-2, Ravens 0-2 versus the Steelers. Yes, 2 of the 4 losses of the Ravens came from the Steelers.
Well, I think the big question is, everybody's surprised that they fixed this thing because this thing really looked bad the first half of the season. But I just don't know that they have enough offense to compete and to keep up. And look who they're playing. That's Buffalo. That's Josh Allen. That's all those playmakers. It becomes a throwing contest. I don't know how the Steelers stay in the football game unless they think they can run it. But I don't even know that they can run it consistently against Buffalo, which puts it then on the shoulders of Mason Rudolph. They're playing a different style of football. And again, they don't have TJ Watt. And without TJ Watt, Steel City is 1-10 when he does not play.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a beatdown. It could get really ugly here. But have you heard any reports on what the weather's going to be like in Buffalo?
I think everything is going to be cold and maybe snowy. I don't think it's going to be bad in Buffalo as it is in the Midwest because I don't think the storms have gotten to Buffalo by that point.
Wow. I mean, some of the times when that wind comes off Lake Erie, I mean, Buffalo is brutal.
It's one of the few places I never did an NFL game. When I was the voice of the Chargers and Seahawks, we never played in Buffalo. And then one year I did for Compass NFL Network, I never had a game in Buffalo. I played in a bunch of other cold weather cities. So never been to Buffalo, but I lived in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. And pal, you don't want to live in upstate New York in the winter.
Yeah, sounds brutal.
Okay, we move on. Fans Forum.
Okay, let's go here to John. This is a two-parter here. And John says, if the Spanoses were smart and wanted to make a dent in the LA market, they'd put Pete Carroll at the top of the list ahead of Harbaugh or Belichick. And then John goes on to say, he's got that USC history and did a good job with Geno Smith, but no one said smart and Spanos in the same sentence.
I'll sign that memo. What's their track record? So at this point in time, I would reach out. Now, everybody that I have emailed with back and forth in the league in the last 24 hours is of the opinion that Belichick is going to go to Atlanta. Now, this new owner in Washington's got lots of money, lots of cap space, but they really need to fix everything. And Belichick is an East Coast guy. But if I were the Chargers, I would see if Belichick wants to interview. I would see if Pete Carroll wants to interview because I believe he still wants to coach. And then you still got Harbaugh there in the equation. Of course, the Raiders are in this mix because they always go for the shiny new object.
Right.
And Harbaugh is pretty shiny right now.
Yes, he is.
So this will be fascinating to see who winds up where. But would I hire Belichick? Yeah, I wouldn't let him be my player personnel guy. Would I hire Pete Carroll? Hell yes, because I believe in that guy. And hire Harbaugh, look what he's accomplished. NFL, what he accomplished at Michigan, but he wants full control. And last time I checked, John, thanks for the job, Dad, Spanos is still, quote, president of football operations. So that'll be intriguing to see how much power they give the new coach coming in the front door.
Well, this has always been interesting because for the Chargers, we figured it was Harbaugh and then everybody else.
But that changed because all these other dominoes just fell.
Exactly. So now there's all these other opportunities. But this comment from John makes sense. Pete Carroll has a good history. I mean, NCAA violations aside, he won at USC. So the fans would be supportive of him there. And LA fans might actually start paying attention to the Chargers if Pete Carroll was running it.
There are 8 NFL jobs that are open. And all of a sudden, all these new names have become available because everybody had wondered whether Belichick would exit New England. Everybody wondered whether Harbaugh would leave Ann Arbor, even though he's got this massive contract offer on the table. And all of a sudden, Pete Carroll's in the mix too. And you got the hot coordinators. And then you got the veteran guys who have resurrected their careers, the Dan Quinns of the world. So if this thing's going to happen, it'll be interesting how fast, which domino goes first. But if I'm Charger man, I talk to Pete Carroll because I think he is just an ideal fit. Football-wise, personality-wise, market credibility-wise.
Oh, yeah. And being in the limelight of LA and Hollywood, he fits. But do you think Nick Saban would come back to the NFL?
No, he's 72, and I think he's elected to stay away. He's indicated he's going to be the assistant to the president of the university. He's done a lot of fundraising for Alabama, and he's done a lot of stuff in the community. He built like 13 houses for the poor in Tuscaloosa. So he's really entrenched there. So I think he will enjoy his life, and he'll be the assistant to the president at Alabama.
Okay.
Move on.
Okay, here, let's go to the Enduring. He says, if Harbaugh stays at Michigan, I could see the Chargers going after either Kalen DeBoer or Dan Lanning.
I don't think either one of those guys wants to leave. Lanning has already turned down the opportunity to interview at Alabama. Last year, he turned down opportunities at a couple of other places. I think these are college guys, and I think they'll stay. Those are kind of neat names, but there's so many good names out there right now. We'll just see what the Chargers settle on and who they might go for.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer is kind of a cool guy, isn't he? I mean, he kind of just appeared out of nowhere, at least on my radar. We already talked about Dan Lanning making that switch. We're going to get surprised, I bet, in a lot of these cases. Some of these big names may end up in places we don't expect or may not even get hired at all.
Well, I think the most unique thing is there are so many veteran coaches who have rebuilt their resume. Dan Quinn, Dallas. Look what he has done. Jim Schwartz, Cleveland.
Big time.
Yeah. Raheem Morris, Rams. So these are all, can I have a second chance, who've now shown they went back to other places and reinvented themselves. So you've got yourself 8 job openings. You might have a good 10 to 12 really quality names. You have to determine which is the best one.
Do you think NFL players rally more for an older veteran coach or for a younger innovative coach?
Good question. I think sometimes it has to do with what you just had that left, why it didn't work and how it failed. And you want somebody different. You either want a communicator rather than a hard-ass taskmaster. You want a guy that has a relationship with young players versus an old-time warrior. You need somebody who's going to fix your bloody offense. Might have had a defensive coach. Yeah, I think all clubs have different priorities and different critical needs. Players respond, though, to whomever comes in the front door because they trust that this guy is going to mold a good situation for us.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to Angel. He's got the Angel's comments. He got a ton of them. They're good, though. MLB on Amazon Prime would be a good idea. It'll just be like Apple TV with MLS. Plus, the Yankees are on Amazon Prime, and it's going well.
You know, the most interesting thing, there was a survey just done over the weekend about the NFL games, because we got this playoff game. It's going to be on Peacock, which is pay the money, watch the game.
Right.
So I forget which network it was, did a national poll. And this one even surprised me, although this is a one-time purchase for $5.99. 61% of the people said they would pay the $5.99 so they could watch the marquee game in the snow at Arrowhead. 61%. Second part of the question on this national poll was, would you pay to see a Super Bowl game? Now, we don't know what the price tag would be. I doubt it would be $5.99, knowing the methodology of the NFL. 64% of the people said yes.
Yeah,
I would pay. So a lot of people think this is a trial balloon to
Mhm.
see what the response is. A lot of people kind of think, maybe fear, a couple years from now, Super Bowl, pal. Now, Super Bowl, $199. You're going to buy the Super Bowl for $199 because
That's a lot.
NFL is all about the bank.
Right.
So it's interesting. 61 said yes, I'd pay to watch the Chiefs and the Bills or Chiefs in Miami, and 64% said yeah. If it became a Super Bowl event, I'd probably be willing to pay. But we don't know what the dollar figure is, and I bet it's not going to be $5.99.
Well, we're as viewers, we're now becoming conditioned to do more pay-per-view. And on one level, it sounds horrific, that they're gouging us. But on the other hand, if they could, break down those big cable contracts or subscriptions, you have to pay $200 a month, and you get the home cooking channel and all these other crazy channels
I like
you
the
never listen to.
Westminster Dog Show. Shut up.
Well, I like that. That's good. But a lot of these other wacky doodle stations, I only watch probably 20% of my total package. So imagine if we got to a point where we can a la carte and pick just the handful of networks that we watch, that we want. That could be a great evolution of this. I'm hopeful it's going to go that way.
Super Bowl, baby, $199.95. Are you going to sign up?
Well, if we have a Super Bowl party and everyone kicks in $5, we can make it work.
Okay, move on.
All right, let's go here to Danny, and he goes, Hacksaw's the best.
Damn right, bleeping brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right, let's go over here to get some social media comments, and there was a lot of really good ones here too. And let's go to here's Aztecs. This is from Tony. He says, "Go on and laugh about UCLA losing to Northridge. The Aztecs almost lost to UC San Diego, except for a buzzer beater. But it looks like San Diego State has righted the ship, almost losing to teams like UCSD and actually losing to Grand Canyon, which, by the way, is up and coming, were probably good lessons for this year's team and not to be too complacent. Let the other team hang around and things can happen."
The whole thing here, march towards the Mountain West Conference tourney. I think that they might get dinged a little bit. Heck, they got a tough game in Albuquerque Saturday morning at 11 a.m. That's not going to be an easy game. There's a lot of good basketball to be played in the Mountain West, but I think Aztecs are tops. Colorado State, New Mexico might be in that mix. Nevada's had a good start to the season. You got Utah State, but I don't think any of them are equal to where San Diego State is. So just keep on trucking, get to the Mountain West tournament. Hopefully you're healthy. I think we're talking Mountain West champion here, and then we'll see what March Madness is like. I'm not freaked out. If I were at UCLA, Pauley Pavilion, seeing what I've seen and how the coaches reacted, yeah, I'd be freaking out over there. And if I'm across the hall at the Galen Center at USC, yeah, they got Bronny James, but that's not much of a team right now. That's a sub-500 Trojan basketball team, despite the fact they got LeBron's kid there. So I think San Diego State, injury-free team to beat. There'll be a target on everybody's back. There will be some tough road games. There's no doubt about that. But as long as they got Ledee standing and all the perimeter guys, the Micah Parishes of the world and Bird and Miles, then keep those guys healthy, this team is going to improve. I think they'll be really good by the time we get to March Madness. Now, how far they go in March Madness, that's a whole another conversation.
Well, did you see the game they played against San Jose State?
Yeah, right at the end, too.
It was way closer than it should have been. And we missed the little chippies, and San Jose State was hustling for the 50-50 balls on the floor. San Jose State, lots of fouls, especially Ledee drew 18 fouls or something. And then San Jose State's hitting these three-pointers, banking them in. And, because everyone comes out to get San Diego State since they're, the number 2 team last year. So this run through the conference tournament on the road is a gauntlet. And
it's going to be testing. It'll test them good, but I think they're good enough to survive most of them.
But I just want to make this is kind of an off the wall comment, but did you see the floor in San Jose with all the silicon chip thing going on? I mean, it was like the blue football field in Boise State.
Yeah, it'd be weird to play on a floor like that. It looks really weird on television.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, a couple more social comments here before we put the lid on this.
Okay, let's go here. This is from the original Surfer Bob, and it says, "I'm curious, did the Bolt fans thank the Las Vegas Raiders for firing Staley and Telesco? Have they? Nobody in the Spanos family fired them. The Raiders did. Thank them."
Well, the Raiders did stomp the daylights out of them and before a national audience, although their TV ratings for that game were horrible. They had a 7.3 rating for that Thursday night game.
That was
7.3. In the NFL numbers, we've been talking about, them getting 18 million viewers or 24 million viewers for NFL games. The Charger Raider game got 7.3. So, yeah, the Raiders, that was getting them to the finish line. That's why those guys were ejected. But this whole thing is just never improved, never grown, did not improve as a team. And as an organization, 3 years in the running, did not accomplish a lot. I was on a sports talk show in Oregon last night, and they asked me about Justin Herbert. And I said, that's a great player, that is a greatly intelligent quarterback. He's a tremendous team leader. And the organization has just never done what they needed to do, put a lot of good people around them and keep them healthy and grow this thing. They have never, ever improved on a year-by-year basis with Justin Herbert. He's 30 and 32. Can you believe that?
Incredible. I mean, and it's, they had Phillip Rivers, they've had other quarterbacks that they never felt like they lived up to their potential. But I always think it goes back to ownership all the time, doesn't it? It has to. I mean, that's the head of the snake.
You're criticizing the first family of football.
Yes, the first family of football
is currently in last place in the AFC West. Okay, let's do one more.
Okay, I want to get another one here. It's another Raider comment. This is from Baja Alfredo. He says, not a Raider fan, but they know how to party. Hacksaw, lighten up. You could use a stiff drink or two.
I'm waiting for you to deliver margaritas to us. Raiders record. You go back. Google boy. You just go back and Google year by year Raiders one-loss record and take this sucker back into the 90s and just compile what their record has been over the last 15 years, 20 years. I'm not talking about the years in which they won the Super Bowl trophy, a.k.a. Marcus Allen, Ken Stabler, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Las Vegas Raiders in the final decade in Oakland. Total that one-loss record up, write me back and tell me I'm wrong for critiquing what the organization has become. Hey, you got a right as a Raider fan to party hardy. You got a right to get loaded. You got a right to smoke joints. I don't care. But don't tell me greatness. Greatness used to be in the future. Their greatness is in their far distant past.
Remember when they had that record? I know they were undefeated on Monday Night Football or something like that.
Back in the day.
Way
back in the day.
Yeah, that was when Howard Cosell was still doing the announcing. But the Raiders, the history, I mean, they always say the mystique, and that's a perfect word for it. But it just no longer applies. I mean, it's just not there. And I always liked Al Davis, the vertical game, and he kind of had like a brand. And I don't know what the Raiders represent anymore.
I'm waiting for Baja Alfredo to go compile that one-loss record of Raider football. And next week, join us on Fans Forum and just give me the number of what their number is. And don't make any reference to the dusty, dented trophies from yesteryear in the back of your garage. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed our podcast.